Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another amazing episode of No, She's Not My Daughter, coming to you from sunny South Florida. I'm Jayson Salter, the older part of the age gap relationship, and as always, the eye candy, the beautiful and talented and sexy Brandi, baby girl Ryan. Say hello to the nice folks, baby girl.
Hello, nice folks. Oh, sexy sidekick.
All right.
Nice.
I'm coming up with all kinds of great descriptive words for you. Yeah, I'll tell you more later. So here we are, episode 1. We got through the intro. Got that sent out. We had some good comments. A lot of people watched it. I think we had, close to 100 views and maybe 30, 40 listens on Spotify.
Not
it's pretty
bad
good
for the
right out of
first
the gate,
one.
right?
Yeah.
Very little
It's
publicity.
not like we had a following before this.
No,
so
nobody knew who we were other than just stupid comments we'd put on Facebook.
Yeah.
Well, that's very cool. Hey, before we get started, why don't you tell everybody where they can find us?
They can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Jayson and Brandi. Jayson with a Y, Brandi with an I. We have the Facebook page and the YouTube channel, No, She's Not My Daughter. And we also have the email, notmydaughterpod@gmail.com, where you can just send in any comments or your stories, just people who want to reach out.
Excellent. Did we get any comments or anything? Did we get any feedback on those?
Yeah, we did actually, which was pretty cool. We got one all the way from Germany.
Oh, no shit.
I know. It's kind of cool, like because
It's a long way away. I didn't know we knew
across
German
the
people.
world of just
Right.
us being us. It's cool. So she sent us a picture of her last episode. I noticed I said Sprouse, so now I'm just gonna keep saying Sprouse.
Me and my Sprouse.
Yes. So she sent us a picture of her and her Sprouse, and a little bit about them, and they're really cute. And she did have a question at the end. Have you ever told any of your colleagues or coworkers about your relationship?
Yeah, don't answer that because we actually have a whole episode around that, right?
Yeah,
We're going to talk about friends and family and coworkers.
Yeah, that's going to be a whole thing, telling the reactions of friends, family, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a great conversation to have because we all have to deal with it, and it creates a lot of anxiety out there.
And I think we had a good mix of reactions. It was, sometimes people are like, "Oh, everybody was fine." No, we had a good.
Yeah.
Good.
Some love us, some don't.
Yeah, so we did good a little bit. And then we also had some really good, oh my God, we had so many comments about your radio voice.
I definitely have a face for radio.
But there was at least 3 or 4 people who are like, oh my God, Jayson has such a good radio voice. He's got to have done stuff in the past. Have you done anything?
I did a little bit, yeah. So and we'll talk a little bit more about this on today's episode, but when I was doing stand-up, that's kind of how I supplemented my income is I would do voiceovers for radio commercials and host the morning show to give out tickets for comedy shows and all that type of stuff.
Makes sense.
Yeah, a little bit of background on it.
Yeah, we got a lot of love on it so far. People are just kind of really excited that we're creating this type of podcast on YouTube for people in age gap relationships because there's a few, but there's not a lot.
Yeah.
And
I think there's a lot of tutorial type stuff, like a lot of people, like we talked a little bit about during the intro episode, there's a lot of stuff on, how to meld your life together in terms of finances and, emotional support, but not really just, and actually we fucking love our relationship and we want to share it with everybody.
And I think we're just coming at it in a fun, casual, this is a you and me conversation with other people type thing.
Right. I agree. So that takes us from comments from Planet Age Gap, and please keep them coming. Send them to the Instagram, the TikTok, the Facebook, YouTube. Those of you watching on YouTube right now, there's a like button down there. Please hit the like button and
share, subscribe.
Yep, share and subscribe. Do it often. We want to build a following and have a good time and see how long we can keep this going.
We love all 12 of you so
That's
far.
right.
There's 12 of
all
you.
dozen of our fans, rock on. All right, so now we're going to move to one of our favorite parts of the show, and it is Famous Age Gap Couples with Brandi Ryan.
Yes. Okay, so before I get into this week, I got really annoyed that you asked me the heights, and I didn't have those, so I made sure I could come back with the heights.
Yeah.
So
Michael Douglas and Catherine Zeta-Jones?
Yeah, so Catherine Zeta-Jones is 5'7", and Michael Douglas is 5'10".
Okay.
So
he's not as tall as I thought. Like, she's much taller than I thought she probably was. And
Yeah.
But he's just not very tall. Maybe that's why she looks taller, is because 5'10" is decent height. But
yeah. So this week's is, I don't even know her last name. Hold on. Oh, it's his last name. They're married. So, okay. Whoops. George Clooney and Amal Clooney. I think that's how you say
we'll
it.
just call her Mrs. Clooney.
And I'm going to see if I can try to put it up on the screen.
Yeah.
I want to start putting a picture of them, so it should be here in the middle. If not,
I love that the audience is engaged in our production talks.
Okay, and he is 5'11", and she is, oh my God, she's 5'9".
Wow.
Okay. Pretty
Okay.
tall.
I
think she's a model, so that makes sense.
So far, I'm taller than both of those men. I'm 6'1", almost 6'2", and I'm shrinking as I'm getting older. But I used to be 6'2", but
As
now
long as you stay above 6 foot,
yeah,
you're good.
we're gonna lie if I don't. And how tall are you?
I am 5'2".
5'2". It's so goddamn sexy.
Why?
I just love short women. I do.
Well, man.
Whoa, man.
Well, man.
Whoa, man.
Well, man.
A 5'2" woman. I love it. Well, that's awesome. Famous age gap couples. And so now let's just roll into, what today's episode is about. So we figured in order to fully get a good view into our lives, you need to know a little bit about us. And so we're going to talk about a little bit about who we are, a little bit of our background. Then we're going to talk about how we met. Because I think everybody has an interesting story out there, and ours is dually as interesting. So I grew up in Texas, just outside of Dallas. Was there my whole life. Yes, I'm a Cowboys fan, so don't send me any hate mail. I've been dealing with it for 25 years. But I grew up in Texas, and I did a little stand-up comedy when I was younger, after I got out of high school, from the time I was 18 till I was about 24, 25 years old. Did okay with it. I traveled around a little bit. I got to open for people like Ron White and Jeff Foxworthy. They don't know that I was the opener. I just happened to be the guy that worked at the club that they were at. They're at the Funny Bone in Arlington. So, I always, whenever I get a chance to brag a little bit, those are the names that I drop out there. Is that, I actually got to open for these guys and get paid for it. It was like $50 and 2 beers, but pay is pay, right? I left Texas when I was in my early 20s and moved to Florida. I was doing a lot of my shows up and down the East Coast, and I had some friends in Tampa, and they invited me to come down, and we lived in a beach house for about 3 years and damn near drank and smoked ourselves stupid. We were halfway there to begin with, and then I spent a lot of time here. I got married, had 2 kids. They are both grown now. My daughter is actually 6 months older than Brandi, which is an episode all in and of itself.
Hence the name of our podcast.
Yeah. So I had 2 kids. I wound up getting divorced, and
What about you gonna mention the son at all?
oh, my son is a fireman. He's 24 years old. Very proud of both of them. They're both very successful and very well-adjusted people, despite their mother and I's best efforts to fuck them up. But they survived it, and so now my daughter lives down here in Florida, close to us, and we interact with her quite often. My son is a firefighter, and we see him when he's not asleep, or what does he say? I don't know, smashing wives and saving lives or something. I forget exactly what he calls it.
I highly doubt he says.
But he is married and he's terrified of his wife, so he would never do that. So I got divorced, and then I wound up getting married again. I got stuck in Georgia one night for 14 years, and holy shit. You talk about a hillbilly place. I'm not saying that it's hillbilly, but it makes Mayberry look like a think tank. You don't know what Mayberry is.
No.
We'll tell her later. So I lived in Georgia for a while. I got remarried, and I was married for about 9 years, and then I came down here and moved back to Tampa. Started working for a company, which I won't mention. But I was down here. I was in the midst and really the endings, I guess, of a 4-year relationship here in Florida, and that's kind of how I got down here. Should I go ahead and talk about how we met, or you want to talk a little bit about you, and then we'll come back into that?
Let's make it about me for a little bit.
Okay.
And then we'll go into how we met. Born and raised in Florida, just on I always get the coast messed up. East Coast. East Coast. Grew up over there.
Right.
Did a little modeling and acting when I was younger.
You're going to have to expound on that a little bit, because you always say a little, and then when you talk about it, I'm like, you really should have led with that.
Well, to me, because nothing came of it, so to me it's really not that big of a deal. But I did a couple commercials. I did a pilot movie with Jennifer Beals from Flashdance, Sean Ashmore.
True. We have it here at the house.
X-Men. He was my brother. Allison Stoner was my sister. A couple other people in there. Can't recall them all. But yeah, I had tons of fake moms and fake dads throughout the years from commercials and modeling and all that stuff. And then got out of that around, I think, around 9, thanks to Mom, because she just wanted me to have a normal childhood.
Yeah, good
That
job,
turned
Mom.
out good, right?
Great plan.
And then, let's see, worked for a company that is the same company that I worked for when I come here, but I moved to this coast, I think when I was 21. Moved over here, started working for like a different company, a massage spa place, which is where I met my first age gap relationship boyfriend, which was actually bigger than our age gap.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, it was 31 years difference.
You want to talk about the top hat, or you want to save that for another episode?
No, I think that's a whole episode in itself, and we could talk about that one.
That is material for days.
I know. Hey, we all have our ones,
Yep.
you know. And then after that, started working for a different company that is the same company where we met. So I guess we can go into
How we met?
yeah.
Yeah, so we worked together. I think we made that pretty clear. I was her boss's boss's boss, I guess, for lack of a better
Which
word.
was super hot.
Which the whole power struggle thing. So I was going around. We were in the restaurant business. So
You didn't
going
actually
around.
like work in the building, just
No.
to reference it, because people think you probably worked there full time.
Right.
You weren't.
No, I visited restaurants, so I would travel around and visit restaurants as a director of operations, and check on the operations and that type of stuff. And
And I was in charge of the catering.
She was a catering coordinator, and we had just hired her on to work on this side to get ready to open a new restaurant, and I happened to be in the restaurant she was training in, and was walking the building with the manager, and you were coming out of the walk-in.
You guys were in it.
Yeah,
already.
we were in the
I
walk-in.
came into the walk-in.
And she came into the walk-in, and we crossed paths.
Yeah, because it's a small.
Yeah, it's a small little walk-in.
Yeah.
So we were very close to one another, and she looked up at me with those beautiful eyes, and you can see them on camera, so don't pretend you can't. But she rocked those eyes up, and it was like lightning hit the tip of my penis. I mean, it just lit up. I don't know, it's funny, but it just lit up my whole body like I've never.
Okay, but it wasn't just that. It wasn't.
No, and that's what I was going to say. I mean, it was an amazing feeling, but I'm trying to think, and Will Ferrell's the best thing I can come up with. It's like lightning hit the tip of my penis, but my whole body just like vibrated for a second. It was the strangest feeling I've ever had. You hear about people talk about love at first sight, and honestly, I thought I was broken. Like, I thought I was emotionally broken, and I was never going to feel this. That's why I'd been in 2 failed marriages, and I was at the end of another failed relationship. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks. It was the most bizarre feeling, but it was great. Like, it was just
And I had the same
energy
feeling.
just bubbling out. It was so crazy.
I describe it more as like a weird magnetic
Yeah.
moment. Just like in that moment, all I saw was your eyes. Like I
Yep.
didn't see anything. It was just, and we were just focused, and it's slow motion.
Yeah.
It's literally how they kind of do it in the
Yeah.
movies, and you always think it's bullshit.
Yep.
But it actually happened,
Yeah,
and I
it
was like,
did.
"That's for real."
It felt like we stood there and stared at each other for 10 minutes. And I'm sure it was only a few
second,
seconds,
yeah.
but there was something happened. And so I left, and I left the restaurant. And I hadn't thought about it. I mean, I thought about it all the time, but I didn't know what to do. And so we opened the new restaurant, and I ran into you again. And it was the same feeling again. Like I could feel us making eye contact across the room. And I could feel the energy between us and that type of stuff. And it wasn't, and I know people think, oh, you're an old dirty man. You like hot young girls for sex. That's not it at all. I've never dated anybody young. I mean, younger than me, yes, 3 or 4 years, something like that, but not big like this. So that really wasn't what it was. It was just this undeniable attraction to you that I had to deal with. And so I left again. And then I came back, and I would see you, and we would just make these googly eyes at each
We
other.
would definitely stare at each other across the
Yeah.
room. I would always look for you. I'd see if your car was in there. I was just always trying to see if you were here.
And I don't know. I think I told you this, and if I didn't, I apologize. I'm going to tell you now. But I would literally pull up to that restaurant, and I would drive around it to see if I could see your car.
Really?
And if it was there, I would come in, and if it wasn't, I would just go to the next restaurant because I needed a reason to come in to see you, but I didn't want it to be painfully obvious.
That's actually so cute.
Oh, you're getting a little teary-eyed.
It's really cute
So
because that's
fucking
something I would do.
I'm so getting late today. I can feel it.
Oh my God.
So I would drive around the building to see if you were there. And if I saw your car, then I would come in. And she would see me from the back. And I think people started teasing her a little bit. They're like, your boyfriend's here. Because people were starting to pick up on the fact that we were flirtatious, although we really hadn't said that much to each other.
Yeah, that was after.
Yeah.
Kinda before.
So she was sitting down for a break and was having lunch. And I finally got the nerve to sit down and have a conversation with you. And I just plopped my old fat ass right down in the chair and just started making conversation. And we talked for probably an hour.
Yeah.
Now, her break was only supposed to be 15 minutes.
Oh, yeah. I went way past my break,
Yeah.
but I was with the boss's boss, so nobody really said anything to me. They're like,
Everybody in the building worked for me, so they were like, well, I'm not bothering her. She, whatever they're doing, it's none of my business. I'm just going to leave it alone. So we sat there for probably the better part of an hour and just talked and kind of got to know each other. And it was cute because the one thing I remember is you immediately shared with me that your current boyfriend was much older than you.
yeah. I was dropping the hint.
I know.
And I was like, I'm okay with this.
Yeah.
Like, I like older men. Like,
Yeah.
this is okay.
And so I was listening and I picked up on all the cues. And I really thought we were having this moment, right? And I'm like, I'm so fucking glad I did this.
I know where
I'm
this is
so
going.
fucking proud of myself. And so then I leaned back in my chair, I crossed my legs, and I said, well, you know what? It's getting late in the afternoon. I'm probably going to get out of here in a few minutes, and I'm going to go right over there to that bar, and I'm going to sit down and I'm going to have a cocktail. Would you like to join me? And you said,
I have to go home and take a nap.
I have to go home and take a fucking nap. The feeling in the tip of my penis made it flaccid at that point. I was so distraught. I thought, you have got to be fucking kidding me. Like, I just got the nerve to sit down and do this, as weird as it looks for everybody else in the room, and I did it, and you popped out with, I have to take a nap. And I'm like, it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
It was 2.
It was 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Not that I'm a raging alcoholic, but it was 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
And I get up. I did get up at early at 5:30 in the morning. I would get up very early. It was 2 o'clock. That's prime nap time by the time I get home. That 2:30, 3 o'clock time. That's every time everybody gets tired.
Right.
You know, my naps were a big part of my life then.
So I couldn't believe that's what she had said. And so I'm sure it was an awkward departure, but I kind of got up and tucked my little tail between my legs and said my goodbyes and left. I was so freaking confused when I left there. What were your thoughts? I don't think you've ever shared with me kind of how you felt after that whole situation.
I wanted to go. Like, I knew I liked you, but I was in a relationship that was also failing at the time. It wasn't like I was looking for the way to kind of break that off, but a lot of things were happening in his life, and I didn't want to make it worse at that point. You were in a failing relationship. We were both in relationships, and as much as I wanted to go meet you, I was just like, I can't do this. I don't, like, I wanted to be a good person, even though I wasn't planning to stay with that person. I still wanted to be a good person. And I was just like, once I go outside these walls with you, then it becomes a real thing. So I was just very cautious, and as much as I wanted to explore that, I wasn't ready yet.
You know, and I got to tell you, that's one of the things. I admire so many things about you, but that's one of the things that I really admired about you, because in that moment, I really felt like I was being blown off. Like, my initial thought, I know it wasn't this way, but I'm giving people color and insight into the relationship. So I really felt like you had been flirting with me to get me to that moment so that you could go, I don't think so. And I was so fucking confused. But after, it's been 2 years now. And what I've learned is, and I'm going to say this, and I'm trying not to generalize people, but typically, the stereotype of young, hot girls is they're totally into themselves and all they want is attention, and that's kind of how they do things. And so that's kind of where my brain went after that moment. But now, looking back, it's just that you're just such a quality person. That was really important to you. And I don't know the ex-boyfriend. I've never met him. I know about him, what you've told me, but I don't know him. So I really can't say, oh, he's a piece of shit, he deserved it, whatever. But in your mind, that was important to you. It was important to play by the rules, and it was important not to carry that stain on your soul of, I was screwing around, I was doing all this, and following through with that, it made me admire you as a person. And you just don't find that in a lot of young people. And it was truly, as time went along, it's almost like it's hard to believe. You know what I mean? Like, you just don't meet people like that nowadays. Typically there's some type of agenda or ulterior motive going on. I'm going to flirt with this person to make that one jealous. And, there's always something weird going on, but that was not the case at all. It was part of your makeup that you needed to close one chapter before you open another. And that's what you did. And it was very nice. So then life kind of moved along a little bit. And
I mean, those sit down at breaks and sit down and kind of came routine for us,
right?
Though you'd maybe like once, twice a week.
Yeah, I'd probably pop in there once, twice a week. I visited my other restaurants like once a month, but I was in that fucking restaurant all the time.
Managers were sometimes like, "Why does he come here so much?" And I'm like,
let me tell you something. That was the cleanest fucking restaurant because they were always like, "That some bitch can be here today."
I love when they would start scrambling. Jason's coming, and they'd be doing all this stuff, and I was just like chilling. I'm like, we're just gonna have lunch, but okay, you guys go freak out.
Did they ever send you out to the Stratton and be like, "Brandi, it's not clean back here. Go out there and get him out of the way for a little while"?
A couple times, not like for that, but they're like, "Hey, can you do this?" Or like, right. And I remember one time I slipped because we would talk on Messenger. Yeah. Like sometimes you wanted to make sure I was there that day or whatever. And I'd be like, "Oh, well, Jason's coming in today," and they'd be like, "What?" I'm like, I didn't you say he was coming in today? I'm like, shit.
So I'd come in and we'd sit there, same booth, typically every time.
Yeah.
And we'd sit there and you'd have lunch and I would try again. And I think you shot me down 3 times. Like 3 times, I think you said, "I have to go take a nap." Or
3 times, like 10. You asked me so many times. It was a lot.
I asked every fucking time. Like, then I was just pissed, right? So I'm like, this is bullshit. I mean, I'm a decent looking guy. I got some stuff going on in my life. I feel like this is I'm a good catch for you. And so I kept trying. And every time, I got to go take a nap, or I've got to do this with my parent. There was always some wackadoodle reason that you couldn't go out with me.
Because I couldn't do it yet.
Right. Well, and then I would leave, and then like 3 or 4 hours later, I get a text message from him, be like, "Hey," I'm like, "Oh, she's playing fucking games with me."
I wasn't trying to. Like, I knew there was something there, and I wanted to figure it out.
Right.
But I wanted to do it in the least shitty, harmful way possible to other people.
Right.
I didn't want to because I don't know. It was a weird time for both of us.
Sure.
I mean, you were going through the same thing.
It was.
So.
It was. And then finally, on attempt number, 13, something, same thing. All right.
Well, at that point, I'd finally broke it off. A couple, maybe a couple weeks, and then you asked me again.
Yep. I asked you again, and this time you agreed.
And I finally said yes.
And there was a little bar right across the street, and I went over there and I sat, and she came in, and we sat there and we had a couple drinks, and it was like everything in the room just disappeared.
It was just you and me.
Just us. And I don't even know if there were other people. I know the bartender was in the room, but I don't know if anybody else was there. And we had a few drinks, and I got up enough courage. I'm like, I'm just going for it. And I said, "Come here, give me a kiss." And you did.
Yep.
And that was it.
And by that time, we had been on this flirtation relationship for what is it, like 6-8 months?
Yeah.
It was like, it didn't happen.
Yeah, no.
Like, I didn't want to make people think it was like, oh, it opened in a month. No, this went on for like 6, 7, 8 months of us talking at, the restaurant, me saying no, all this stuff. So we knew each other relatively well and had been in this for quite a while. Yeah. At that point.
And then finally it happened. And that was it. After that, it was on.
After that, it became a routine that I would try to get off work at the same time, and you would try to get off work at the same time, and we would go meet at...
I'd send you a message and say, "Let's meet here at 2:30, 3 o'clock."
That became our spot.
that was our spot. Even the bartender knew us. I know. Donald, that's his name if he's watching. But we'd go see Donald, and he knew what we drank, and he knew what was going on. I don't think he knew that we were breaking out of other relationships and seeing each other there, but it was painfully obvious that I was much older and she was much younger, and he was just a friendly guy, and we loved going there, and we'd sit there at the bar and make out and make people uncomfortable, and then we'd go in the parking lot and make out some more, and I mean, it was just like we couldn't keep our hands off each other. And
we had a lot of passion.
We did, and we've always had a lot of passion. That's one of the things I really love about us. And it just kept building and building and building and building until finally there was just nothing else we could do about it. You know, we started to become an item. And that was not helpful with the relationship I was ending. I'm not proud of it, but you know, when you meet the love of your life, you can't just not pursue it.
Yeah.
And I was in the same boat as you. I was trying hard not to break someone else's heart or make it because of someone else. It was ending anyway, but I wanted it to end because of the reason it was ending, not because of you, because I didn't want it to be about
And I made that very adamant too.
Yes.
Because I was like, I don't want you to end this relationship because of me. Like,
Right.
I want you to end because it wasn't going to work regardless
Right.
of me. I don't want to feel like I'm just replacing somebody
Right.
or a placeholder. Like,
Right.
I want to forget about me.
Yep.
Like, make sure that's not working regardless of all that.
And so finally, I guess it's maybe 6 or 8 months later that we finally just said that's it. And I think you were a little bit shocked that when I told you I'm having the conversation today.
Because I never pushed it. I never forced it. I never was like,
No,
"Are
you
gonna
were
do this?"
awesome.
I wanted, because like I said, I wanted this to be all your decision. I didn't want to have any type of factor into this because I wanted you to choose me because you wanted to choose me.
Right.
Not because it was convenient or something worked out. So I knew what I wanted, but I wasn't trying to force it on you.
Right.
So when you actually were doing it, I was like, oh my God, he's actually fucking doing it.
Right.
Like,
Right.
you know.
Well, and that was the weird thing for me. And, you know, I don't think anybody knows this, but for a lot of those months, I was trying to give you alternatives and not that I didn't want to be with you, but I felt so much guilt because I'm like, I'm 27 years older than her. You know, in my head, I'm sure a lot of you out there think this way. She's 27 years old. What happens 20 years from now when I'm 74 and she's still in her 40s? You know, what happens when I'm gone? You know, I mean, all of those things ran through my head. I'm actually a very deliberately thinking person, and those things just ate
You
me
were a
alive.
massive overthinker. So
Oh,
that's why it
my
took you so
God.
long to make those decisions.
It took me forever. But I tried setting her up with other people. I encouraged her to go on dates. I mean, and it was so fucking painful. But I was trying
And I did
everything
try a
I
couple
could.
times.
Yeah, I didn't want us to be, that May, December, just, it was fun and exciting and now it's over. I was like, God damn it, if I do this, it's got to be real. Like, I didn't want to be a cliche.
And
That's
also,
what it
I
was.
think it's scarier for people who
Right.
are in your age bracket because, which we not make fun of, but we comment on a lot. A lot of people are in those relationships and stay because of
Right.
comfortability, and I can't start over now. I'm this. I have, So I think that was hard for you too to try to
I was.
start fresh in something at this age.
Yeah.
You're like,
It was really tough. It was really tough for me. I went through a big emotional journey trying to get through that. I'm sure there's a lot of people, and I think probably most people watching go through this at some point. From the outside looking in, it just looks like an old guy dating a young girl, and your mind immediately jumps to conclusions. Either he's a very wealthy older man, and that's her sugar daddy, or he's just a dirty old man, and she comes from a broken home. I mean, you fall into all those things, but the reality is, we were just both very normal people who happened to fall in love, and were really struggling with the things that we were doing to other people because of our relationship. And it took a while for us to really process it and work through it. But I got to tell you, it's the best decision I ever made. It was one of the hardest decisions I've ever made, but it's the best decision I ever made. And you were 100% right. When I pulled the trigger, the conversation lasted 45 minutes and that person was gone by the end of the week. I mean, it was so
obvious how dead it was.
right. Like, it was so fucking uneventful that I was almost disappointed.
That you waited that long because you thought
I
it
waited
was
that
going
long,
to be this
right?
big.
Like, I thought it was going to be this big drama, but somebody's calling the cops, and the house caught on fire.
It was really funny because
Right.
like you called me or texted me something. I forgot what it was, but like I'm
It's
having
over.
the conversation, and literally like 25, 30 minutes later, you're like, I'm like, that's it. That's
it.
all it took. I was like,
That's it. Yeah. But
that's-
I think she knew too, and
I think we both knew.
yeah, I
but
think
it
we
was
both
like,
knew.
again, it's that
and-
comfortability thing.
Yeah.
Which a lot
And
of people in that age are
yeah.
part of.
Yeah, when you get older, you get comfortable and you're afraid to do things. And God damn it, I just didn't want to be afraid. I wanted to be in love. It's one of the few things I don't have in my life. I'm not a wealthy man, but I'm also not poor. I'm okay. I've got great kids. I've got great family. I got all those things. And the one thing I never had was the person that completed me, and I wanted that, and I knew in my soul I had found that with you, and I'm so glad that I did it. All right, we could go on about this forever, but there's actually more episodes that deal with this type of stuff. And the next one, I think we're kind of at a standstill because we want this to be fun, and it's always fun for us to relive these stories, especially so everybody else can hear them. But the next episode, we're kind of torn. So in our intro, we told you that we were probably going to live broadcast my colonoscopy, which happened last week, and we did. Yes. We recorded all of it, and that Brandi's figuring out how to splice it into an episode. So we're torn between what the next episode is going to be. It's either going to be about our friends and family and coworkers, breaking the news to them and kind of how they handled it, and where our relationship went from there. Or we're going to talk a lot about poops and deal with my colonoscopy, which is exciting all in and of itself. It was fucking hilarious, I got to tell you. We actually had a really good time doing it. And I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. So we'd like to take your advice. So go to Instagram, go to TikTok, go to Facebook, YouTube, go to the email, and send us your comments. What do you want to talk about? You want to talk about our friends and family? You want to talk about how my butthole turned out for the end of the day? Because it's going to be weird either way. But, that way we kind of get some insight on what direction you guys want this show to go, because it's as much your show as it is ours. So, baby girl, like I always say, and love because it feels right.
Not because it looks right.
Amen. Hey, good night, baby girl.
Good night, baby girl.